did like this movie.
You say that as if you're surprised.
No,
is that because you weren't expecting to like it, or?
No. Well, we've seen a lot of superhero movies like this.
Right,
and
right.
I think this one's a pretty good one out of the bunch.
And what is it about the movie that you thought worked for you?
Are you doing the interview?
I'm doing the interview now. It's always so nice to ask somebody else what they think.
Well, honestly, I think that it's because you see how Wolverine is from the beginning, and so you see why he behaves the way he behaves in the following movies. And then the action was wonderful, and I think all the characters had some sort of deep
emotional.
Yes, you could feel with them,
Well, I think it's very interesting what you're saying, because this wasn't the sort of movie that I thought I would make, to be perfectly honest. And I was very surprised when Hugh Jackman called me and said, I'd like to talk to you about directing Wolverine. I thought he was joking with me, But his point was that it is in fact important that this movie is a character-driven movie as well as a movie packaged with great action and great spectacle. I think audiences today they're so sophisticated in terms of special effects. They know that special effects should be good. There was a time when you would get an audience to go to a movie just because there were special effects. But nowadays we're used to those effects. We expect them to be good. And so we still have to have a great character. Somebody that people fall in love with and say, I like being on this journey with this guy. And that's what Hugh does so well. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for me it was an opportunity to work on a big scale, but also to tell a character-driven story.
But also with the leak on the internet, you know, there is some doubts, and it was unfair. But at least when you see the movie finished now, it's no way that
you're not admitting to seeing this thing on the leaked on the good. I'm just checking.
But I'm just saying that other people, make comments and stuff.
Well, look, this leak on the internet was incredibly distressing because you're working on a film, it's not finished. You know people are going to comment on your work, but you want them to comment on the work when it's done, not when it's halfway through. So I just want to thank most people, because most people, it seems, have not wanted to spoil the movie for themselves by watching some half-finished, stolen piece of work. It really makes me upset. So it's exciting to know that people who are seeing the film finished are really enjoying the movie. And obviously it was disappointing, very disappointing, to have it stolen before we were done.
So let's talk about the challenges that you faced making this film. What were they?
One of the big challenges, I suppose, was, for me, I'd never worked at a budget at this level and with this amount of action. So the big challenge early on was not to let myself be overwhelmed by the scale of it all, and remind myself that with all this crazy scale and the time that it takes to do all the visual effect shots, things go much slower because you have to do so many more technical things to get the shots. To remind myself that at the heart of every story, you still need a great character that people fall in love with, and that the emotional journey of Wolverine, getting that right, was extremely important. When you're right in here on a long lens on Hugh Jackman's face and what's going on in his eyes, those are actually the most exciting moments for me, believe it or not. More exciting than the action, because you can put 11 cameras on the action and get great action. But if the emotional truth isn't going on in Hugh's eyes in that moment, no amount of action can save your movie. Audiences either love the character and the story or they don't. And the action can only take them so far before they say, okay, enough already with the action, I want a story.
Now, what do you think the reason is these superhero movies are so popular these days?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think, funnily enough, human beings from very early days have always enjoyed superheroes. We tend to think in our world that this is a new phenomenon, but actually, if you think about the sort of ancient Greek myths, who were these characters? Zeus, who threw thunderbolts when he got angry, and Poseidon, who conjured up storms from the sea. We've always loved larger-than-life, operatic, mythic, big stuff because it gives us an exciting thrill. But if you think about those early mythical characters, what they also have in common, especially with the story like Wolverine, is that the connections between the characters in those myths are very human. It's always someone's brother and lover and betrayed by the lover and the best friend, and they're all these family sagas. And that was the fun of bringing in Victor Creed as Wolverine's half-brother. It just fuels the action with real emotional energy. And that's been used for thousands of years by great storytellers. So we're just creating modern superheroes. But people have always loved superheroes.
You should do a Shakespearean sort of film like this.
You're right. But in a way, it is a kind of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's big and operatic. And so it was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun.